You're watching the Sports and Political channel, LB. I'm its contributor. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter. I go by True Virgo Child. Share these videos on your social media outlets and ring that bell for whenever I go live or drop a video. Let's get down to business. So this is a hotly contested topic. Which decade had the best brand of basketball? And I grew up in the 80s. And I'm a 70s baby, but I grew up in the 80s and all that. And I'm fond of 80s basketball. And the reason why I'm the most fond of 80s basketball is because during that decade, it was highly competitive. It was a highly competitive brand of basketball. Yeah, um, it was mostly dominated by the Lakers and Celtics and all that, but you had the Houston Rockets. You had the Portland Trailblazers. You had the Phoenix Suns. You had the Seattle Supersonics, the San Antonio Spurs, right? Even the Denver Nuggets. And then in the East, the Detroit Pistons, the Chicago Bulls, the Atlanta Hawks, the Philadelphia 76ers. So to me, in my opinion, I feel that the 80s basketball was the best brand of basketball due to its highly competitive nature. Now, that's not the discount the uh, that's not the discount the other eras of basketball, like the 90s. 90s, guys were highly athletic. The 2000s, we saw that athleticism and this take another leap and bound or whatever like that. So, but I'm gonna put the link in the chat. You guys can come in and tell me what you think is your brand of basketball that you like. Hold on, do this real quick. There go the link. Come on in and let me know what y'all think is what do you think is the best brand of basketball? Like I said, I'm an 80s guy. I like the 80s brand of basketball. You can't discount the 60s. 60s, it was pure art form. Guys ran sets. Guys, actually knew their role and knew their spots and things of that nature. So you had the 60s brand of basketball. You had the 70s brand of basketball, right? Which, we saw guys like Willis Reed and Bill Walton and Earl of Pearl Monroe and all those guys, right? I mean, I mean, basketball in the 60s was pure, was as pure as fine wine almost. And then in the 70s, you had, it was, creativity and growth. And then, like I said before, the 80s, which is my favorite brand of basketball, was the era where you had, sheer competitiveness, right? And then in the 90s, you had, this raw athleticism in the 90s. Thanks for letting me know about my mic, man. I had to clear some things up. So that's what I think about. In this era of basketball, I still think 80s. I love 80s basketball. I know a lot of people that might be 90s babies and 2000, whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? They might be going to the 90s and the 2000 and all that, and that's nothing wrong with that. You know, I ain't got no beef with that. I'm looking at, but you know, I'm trying to put things in its proper context as to what we feel is the best brand of basketball. What's up, Sean? Salute, Brad. Salute to you, man. What era had the best brand of basketball? Um, Now, what I don't want to have happen is the debate devolve into players and you said my mic screwed up. All right, can you my mic is my mic better now? Is my mic better now? Hey, put a one in the chat if you think my mic is better now. All right, good. But what I don't want to have devolve, I don't want this debate devolving into players and what they would have done in this era, what they would have done in that era. That's not designed for that. And you know, I'm not a fan of hypotheticals. I don't like if you want hypothetical, you know, you need to do a science project if you want to engage in hypotheticals, right? That's what they make. That's what they got science classes and all that. Science projects if you want to get engaged in hypotheticals. I don't want to engage in hypotheticals. I want to engage in a debate where we use tangible proof, evidence that supports why we think the area that you think has the best brand of basketball. Now, like I said before, me personally, I love the 80s brand of basketball because you had people out here who were highly competitive, who wanted to beat each other, who wanted to see who was actually the best, whether it be Dominique going against Michael, Michael going against Isaiah, uh, Magic against Clyde Drexler, right? And you had, you know, Portland Trailblazers against the Lakers, and you know, you had Lakers going around the time because the Lakers and the Celtics were the two classes of the NBA in the '80s, right? When you had Lakers going around different parts of the country playing these teams, and you had the crowd into it, beat LA, beat LA, beat LA, right? Hell, even the Golden State Warriors back then with Chris Mullin were really good. So the '80s basketball was very competitive. That's why I like the that's why I feel that it's the best brand of basketball. But I know a lot of people that you know may not have grown up during that time. They may not understand. They might think you know whatever era they grew up in, that's gonna be their brand of basketball, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is why I put a link in the chat. You can come in and state your case and why you feel that the era you believe is the best brand of basketball. That's why I put the link in the chat. You come in and look, I want quality conversation. If you come in here dick licking, I'm gonna kick you out. So I'm forewarning you. No dick licking. Just in case you need the link again. All right, Sean, what you
Go.
got?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you actually made some good points on about like 80s basketball. If I mean, if it wasn't for the 80s, there wouldn't be like the 90s or the 2000s. But I mean, since I grew up like in the 2000s, I might have to say the 2000s is gonna be my best brand of basketball. More specifically, like in like the early or I'll say like the early to mid 2000s when you have like the best blend of offense and defense. You have like hard hitting defense while you have the offense, and the pacing isn't like as sporadic as what it is today, or even back then. Like it's more. I don't know. Like for me, my personal opinion, I feel like the games like around that time was more exciting. Um, than today because like it's not like every team is like over 100 points. I mean, you winning like like 90 to like 85 is much more exciting because you put in more effort of defending that basket every single time. But yeah, I'll go with the 2000s.
All right. What you got? Wait, what?
Yo, what's good? Salute to LB. Shout out to the chat. Salute to the panel. Um, I have to go. I have to go with 2000, like 2010s. I think 2010s it just shows you velocity of different ways of the game itself integrating each other from each generation to generation. So, for example, at the beginning of the 2020, at the beginning of the 2010s, you had great battles that people don't really like. When people talk fundamental basketball and actually like grit and grind, still having the rules at the same time, cause like when I hear people say, "Oh, no disrespect to the people who love the '90s." Or the early 80s. You know what I'm saying? Between that. But when you talk about basketball as it's supposed to be, we're not talking prison ball. Dudes is out there playing prison ball, but with great basketball skill set. We talking about
Whoa, 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 whoa,
legitly
whoa, whoa. Hold on.
what
Whoa,
happened?
whoa, whoa. Back up. Back up. Back up.
What
Ain't
happened?
nobody playing no damn prison ball in the 80s. Are you crazy?
No,
I
I'm
never
just saying,
heard this before.
but like the way y'all glorify it, like the way y'all glorify it as in, oh, they play real basketball. Not really. You were playing like prison ball, and you trying to like use that as a stepping stool as why this brand of basketball is better than what we getting of late. I'm not talking about of late, but I'm talking about the 2010s where you still had, for example, Memphis Grizzlies and the OKC playoff series is beautiful to me. I think that like people like look like you don't always have to go with the Bulls versus the Pistons or the no name situations. I go to games that have fundamental grit and grind. Memphis Grizzlies in that span with a beautiful team of dangerousness off of playing defense a lot. Not so much of offense. They give you fundamental offense, but they don't give you the exploding offense that you get probably nowadays or prior to that time period. Like I said, and then you got like mid 2010s. You're getting the star risen of the next generation of their GOAT, as in LeBron James, Kevin Durant, players like that have such a star stigma, as in like huge, really huge. You didn't have that in the early, like between the 2000s, like that. You know what I'm saying? There's too much troubleness from a Kobe Bryant.
What?
Tracy McGrady wasn't that guy like that. You know what I'm saying? As in the public figure to really present it in front of the game and let the game continue to grow. You don't have a lot of players molding their game after Kobe. You have a lot of players molding their game after LeBron, Steph, and KD. I'm just saying, brand of basketball is in the hands of the 2010s, and pretty much that's it.
Well, I mean, I had to
All right, so
disagree.
this a
Oh, you want me?
go ahead, Sean.
You can
Go ahead, Sean,
start.
because
Okay.
I about to go ahead, Sean.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
had to
Go ahead. See what you gotta
disagree.
say.
Like, as far as like in the 2010s, I had to say like Kobe's game is still molded even among like players that you probably don't even expect it to. Like, it's not just like from Clayton Thompson, Devin DeRozan. You have guys like even Kawhi, like Kobe's game is still in the like some of the best players' DNA, and it's just what it is. And it's still going to be
Honestly,
always going to be that way.
to
Not many
respond
people are playing LeBron. The only
to
ones that
respond
actually
to
okay.
respond to your Kobe thing, actually, when you look at it, you don't see the mold of Kobe going forward. You have players that interacted with Kobe and took some of what they did. For example, like what I'm saying is, a Giannis, is he molding from a Kobe? No, he's molding from a LeBron, a KD, a Trey Young. He's molding from a Steph Curry. Future of the NBA are molding from these players of what they doing right now. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't hear people saying, "Oh shit, there's a 6'4", 6'5" Kobe coming in." Nah, that dude playing like a KD. That height, that movement, bum bum. LeBron James, big body, passes, boom boom. You getting that in players that's coming forward. Steph Curry, the threes, the movement without the ball. They games are being molded and used as structure for kids that's coming up to emulate to become a great player. You don't see that with the Kobe selfishness type of approach a lot of time, kill all that's on the court. No, you don't do that going forward to brand out basketball for the whole world to touch.
Do you even know what you're talking about, man?
What you mean? I just
Look,
literally everything. I didn't say nothing crazy. I ain't cuss. I
where
ain't
you
say
think
nothing
Stephen
out of
Curry get his
radical.
game from?
I'm just saying.
Where you think Stephen Curry get his game from? You
I think
think
I
he just
think
came with this game on his own?
No, he was trained by Dell Curry as well as Seth Curry. The both big 30s. He was trained by Dell Curry. That's an enigma. You can't even use him like that, bro. He was literally trained, and there's videos of him
Do you
getting
use
trained
him
by
like
his father. Say that again.
then? Did you
Yeah, LB, you breaking
ball?
up.
Oh, I thought I was tripping. I thought that was me breaking up. I had to like take my time with it. I wasn't sure. Appreciate
Uh,
that, Sean.
no, did you watch '80s basketball?
Yes, I had videotapes of clips of watching it. If you want me to do that whole live experience, I cannot do that, sir. Apologize. I wasn't born or thought of at that time. I did go back and watch film.
So you cherry pick one era. You cherry pick whole '80s era.
Yo, LB, I ain't catch none of that. I don't know if the metaverse is really fucking up your mic. I don't know what's going on. Let me know.
Hey, girl,
Yeah, LB, your mic is like breaking up, man.
Yeah, okay. As long as I'm not in the metaverse, I thought I was tripping. We're good, young. But nah, but you get where I'm coming from, Sean? Like literally, like you see that. You literally probably see at the court if you do go to the court on a daily basis like I do. That's how I stay integrated with the game. Because I go to the court on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? I just don't sit there and watch it because I understand the feel of like sometimes, yo, dudes might not make that cut. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the speed of it. It's just about the parallel of it. You know, I parallel that, being on the court at the work every day.
I hear you, but the problem I have with what you said is that um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like the offense, like players right now, they doing like smart decisions. However, they don't really have that grunt. They don't really play that much defense. Like
Mm-hmm.
that era that you just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
is the least defensive era out of all
Whoa.
eras that we can actually talk about.
Wow. That's cap. Wow. Now you got to
Like
stand
both,
up.
like I said this when it comes when I actually mentioned about the 2000s. It was more balanced, both offensive, defense. You don't really like feel like, hey, like I as long as I could score like around 60 points or 50 points, even 40 points. You know what I mean? As long as I outscore these teams, that's all that matters. Like pretty much both teams are always scoring over 100 points. Not really much like activity with the defense. Now there are some defensive capabilities in the 2010s. You know what I mean? Like again, like Draymond Green earlier in his Warrior years, But my problem when it comes to the 2010s is that the defense and the balance of the game is lopsided to the point that every single player could do whatever in the offense. I even say that even like a bench player could score a triple double. Not all the time, but he could score a triple double in today's game right now. It's just the
I
truth.
I think first off, one, you're wrong, as in the concept of today's game, because today's game is the 2020 span. If you actually paid attention, like this is where everybody's starting to get triple doubles in these last couple years, not in the 2010s. And then even if I try to give you the 2019, you know what I'm saying, as that last year, you seen that defense in Toronto actually won. They defeated, even though KD wasn't there completely, and Klay Thompson got hurt in the elimination game. You know what I'm saying? He was playing a majority of the series, but got eliminated and got hurt in the elimination game. You know what I'm saying? So defense did prior to that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
at
but
that
that
time, there was only,
defense.
but
Okay.
it was at that time it was only one team that was like in radical with offense, which was the Houston Rockets and their Amori approach. And you need at least somebody out there that do the total opposite of what you trying to do. There's probably a team, you know what I'm saying, as an offense driven and approach of that. Because after the breakmanship of the Golden State Warriors, that's where teams started to try to emulate or try to copy it. But they really got the wrong blueprint. They actually got the Houston Rockets blueprint. And that's when you started seeing everybody take threes, no coaching actually being applied. So many different things like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm talking about the 2010s. 2010s is separate from what you've been seeing basketball of late. Last time the 2010s was the last time KD was actually fully healthy, as in he got hurt as in a sacrifice. So we actually seen greatness actually, like we seen the Achilles in the 2010s. You know what I'm saying? As one of the greatest players, and that's it. That's like like that shows you the brand of basketball, as in like everything happened here. Super teams got defeated, as y'all so called say, by 2011 by Dirk Nowitzki. Fundamental basketball won again in 2014, which is the Spurs. It's super team, the greatest super team, as they say, lost in the 3-1 lead. Like it's so much history enriched between the 2010s to just in the 2010s itself by itself is the enrichment of history, the ability of showing not just like Jordan only had in the 90s, there was Jordan. In the 2000s, you really had maybe I give you Kobe. However, as in the winning aspect, but at the same time, not as the darling of the league. You know what I'm saying? There was other different type of players involved. You ain't really had that structure of it. Then you got the 2010s where not only LeBron just there, there's also KD. And then there came another guy named Steph Curry. Hey, bro, you gotta pay attention, bro. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than rap.
Understandable, but at the same time, though, the game isn't that balanced. And also, I'm not saying that every single year in the 2010s they do that, but I'll say like around, like I'll say more so like the mid 2010s till now, it actually did kind of soften up the game. Like early 2010s, or you know, what I mean, it was kind of like the last years for that, uh, but like again, this the game is so unbalanced. S Young is still there.
Oh yeah, I mean, what's the topic?
The topic is like, what is in your opinion, what is the greatest decade of of great basketball?
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough one. The greatest
That guy
decade.
said 2010. I was like, really, man?
That's when social media came in. That's when social media took over.
I mean, I explained it real good. Like the game is has gone watered down. Like at best, like like at least in the mid 2010s, the game got watered down.
The greatest,
But
greatest decade. Oof, that's tough. Uh, I would have to say, it's between the '90s and 2000s. You know,
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Like more so like yeah, like yeah, 90s all the way to like 2000, yeah, to like 90s and 2010s. But like you had to only had to pick in one strictly decade, not like more so like an era type of thing. You know what I mean? Not like hey, if we pick the zone era, which is like late 90s, mid 2000s. Like we can't do it in that type of way. It has to be like one era, which is like 90s, 2000s. But I feel you on that one though. You know what I mean?
Well, definitely, for my if we talk about my experience, and when it comes to the 2000s, when I say the 2000s, it was more to me. It was to me watching, AI, Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett. These the lists go, the list that go on. It was a new millennium, and I like how it always evolved, with a lot of players, because the '90s it had some good players. It had some good players, definitely some greatest players. But everybody always keeps saying Jordan ruled the '90s. You know, with this 2000s, everybody now it's just everybody evolving now, and um in the '90s, I like how it was to me. Like, I mean, 2000 was better because it was like more athletic. It got more athletic. You know, didn't have much like the '90s was, but still more athletic. New stars was coming in. Got more entertaining, entertaining wise. It got more a little bit flashy. But it still was physical. It still was physical. I would definitely say the 2000 basketball era for me, personally.
Yeah, man, like it was really balanced. You know what I mean? Like you have like the balance of both sides, like both offense and defense, while having that flashiness and swag. A lot of people don't really appreciate that much. Well, I think there are more people that's appreciating now,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like back then,
it
like
just,
a
yeah,
lot of people don't really
yeah.
appreciate
Like
that much.
2000, it was more swag. You got more. It was about swag and chains and all that, and more vibrant with the hip hop. It was more vibrant with the hip hop and music. Music was terrible from then 2000, but it still kept a balance. It still was physical, and it still at the time, the big mans and all them, they wasn't shooting no threes, cause like cause Tim Duncan, KG, Dirt Nowitzki, Chris Webber, them, Shaq, them guys were just focused on the post instead of just like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot threes all night like the 2010s. I feel like 2000 to me, because I came up from that era, that 2000.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy, but like he was, the dude, like no disrespect, but like the dudes are like, oh, like there's no like influence, like about like, hey, like there's no influence around you about Kobe or Kobe or Jordan. Is like more so like LeBron is KD and all and Curry. I'm like, there's still the influence is still there, not as much as it used to be, but it's still there in that like in players that we already like name of before, like like DeRozan and Kawhi, Kyrie. You can name about those that you can remind like offensively how amazing they are
Mm-hmm.
with their skill and ball handling and how they juke opponents and all that. But but yeah, man, it's like 2010s, I was like the starting out the game got watered down. Yeah, there's some good moments, but the game watered down even more so after all that, and has lost like that competitive edge in my personal opinion.
Right. What about you, James? No, what you think was the greatest decade in basketball?
The greatest decade?
In basketball.
Damn, boy, that's a hard one, bro. Cause you got a lot of them, bro. All of them had they ups and downs as well. But when you was being taught the right way, it kept the morale of the game. So all the way up to 2010, from the time I was able to watch it from like the 83, 84 finals, where I could understand basketball and fell in love with that game like that, trying to make it to get me out. You know, there was just another thing to doing in our hood because we wanted to go outside. Social media ain't have us locked inside facing in the computer. So to me, all the way up from that point to what that was 2010, it was all relevant. So it wasn't no which one was the best. All of them had they, like I said, had they time to do their thing in their era. Like with the Bad Boys, you know, you had the Lake Show, and you had Boston, the era that I came in on. You know, when my dad and my aunties was schooling me on that shit. Like, this who this is. This how you play. Watch him. Don't watch them. You know what I mean? They was teaching me the right way. You know what I mean? So up until they went to doing what they doing now, man. Shit, I loved all eras. Ain't no era had no ups on nobody to me because it was all good basketball. And then the owners was doing the shit. You know what I mean? It wasn't the players manipulating the system, taking control, messing everything up. So from 80, like I said, from 84 to 90 to 90 to 2000 to 2000 to 2010, man, I could get jiggy with any one of them. All of them was fire to me. I call it a draw because they all pulled their own weight the right way. They all played the cards that they was dealt. You know what I mean? And even though certain people forced their way out certain situations for money reasons, or the owner say, I don't care if they can go 82-0, it's over with. Come on, man. Like, they was doing all the breaking and doing the damage and to the teams besides the players doing it. You know what I mean? So I take the 80s, I take the 90s, and I take the 2000s. Right now, I watch any one of them. I call it a draw on my end because it was all good basketball at the end of the day. And then the two top teams, if they were supposed to meet, like if you coming with the puppets, they gonna meet. You know what I mean? Everybody know Boston and Lakers in the 80s was then Detroit say, hold up, man, what about me? You see what I'm saying? So when Detroit had their little run on, boom, boom, yeah. Then Portland on the West trying to keep up. You know, they went to 2 out of 3 years. So, you know, like I'm saying, it was always this competition level. It wasn't no, man, I'm going to join this nigga since I can't beat this nigga, man. Fuck, man, I can't beat this nigga. Agent, get on the phone, man. See what we can do, man. Move this nigga over here, move that nigga over there. All to manipulate them to try to win. So I take from 80s to the 2000s, call that shit even to me. No bullshit. Because I love it. I love the competition level. I love everybody went out there and put it on the line. And when they was supposed to meet, because had all that star power, they met, they clashed, just like Wilt and Bill Russ in the days. The Lakers in Boston had all the things, even though Boston won majority of them. Shit, you can't find that. You can't get these niggas to do that. They building super teams came and meet each other. They shit getting derailed before they even get on the fucking boat or the motherfucking the train or the motherfucking yacht. And they got a hole in that bitch. So when they go deep off in the sea, they going right down with that bitch.
Mm.
So I ain't fucking with that shit, dog. Like I said, that the 80s. Just think about the 80s, dog. When Kareem and Parrish was going at Boston, when they went to like, how many of them bitches went to in the 80s? Look like that's all that was going in the 80s. Before, you know, right after Philly had won that bitch and did their thing. When Philly moved out the way, it was just Boston and motherfucking the Lakers looked like for damn near a whole decade. And you just watching greatness. I'm just saying, you watching pure greatness. The highest IQ of the game that you will ever see on the same court. But these niggas get on the court, don't have no IQ, not clutch, scared to go to the line. Man, I ain't fucking with this era like that, dog. I ain't bullshitting. That shit hard for me to watch. I call my era a draw though because we was learning from each other. The 80s, when the 80s came in, the 90s was willing to open their eyes up and listen. You dig? And soak up much knowledge that they had. They still kept their swag with it, but they never changed the game. They never changed the game. Then when you got the 2000s, Shaq and Kobe had beef, yeah, because they mind know they men. They want to run their own team. Shaq was doing the shit in Orlando. You know how I feel. I just went to the finals with Penny. Who was this young nigga talking about throwing in something? But they don't. At that time, you're not looking at, man. Let's put this shit together. Let's play together. Let's put all that shit aside. Then work ethic came in the play. People went to getting lazy. They talked about this shit already. So it wasn't that they was breaking up teams because they was reneging on niggas going join the enemy or I can't beat them, join them type shit. Man, like I said, man, I love my era and I wouldn't take nothing back. I call that shit even, dog, a straight draw. But every era had their ups and downs, like I said, flaws. But what I like about it, they always played the card that they was dealt. Look at all the super teams that was built from the owners. They added one piece. They ain't go demolish the whole league and, and broke down a parity in the competition where it would be that lopsided, and then you still weren't guaranteed to win. How many rings? What you call the one in Milwaukee? Where Oscar Robertson, whoever else he had on that team.
Who's one?
I think Oxford won it with Kareem.
And one
That's
just
what I'm saying. But that team
Yeah,
was together for how long and how many they won though? That was a nice squad. What I'm saying.
they just won
So
one.
just because you put a team together, that don't mean you gonna win it all the time. Niggas ain't laying down for you, man.
That's how it
Niggas
is
I
looking
now.
feel
at
you
that
on
shit
that
as an
one.
opportunity. Because if I beat you, now they gonna start looking at me because I beat some of the greats, and all you niggas on the same team. That's why I was loving when Dirk did that shit. And I picked Miami to win, dog. I was like, man, ain't no fucking way. I'm sitting there, ask my girl, dog. I'm sitting on that living room couch like I'm part of the team. Like I lost everything. I'm like, ain't no way this dude just went out like this. But I can't do it, dog. My era gonna always be top notch. What I like about it too, SY and y'all, you seen how them dudes came out there? They looked good, bro. Julius Irving, Kareem still walking, looking good. Now they might be buck dancers, but I'm saying when they went out there and played the game, they ain't cheat that motherfucker. They gave us a show, dog. You know what I mean? And when they moved because of their own personal reasons, and they didn't tear the whole league up to the point where they'll be so crippled and lopsided where you'd be like, man, you already know who's gonna win. People picking people to win because the team that they build, not everybody back on the next team. I listen, bro. You lace them up, bro. May the best man win. And that's all I can say on that, bro. My squad, Miami, we all right, but we ain't out there trying to do what other teams doing. We just playing the cards that we dealt. We got a whole tradition over there, and I like that. Hey, Riley ain't been in the breaking for none of these players, but you got players that can only been in the breaking, fucking up franchises. Russell Westbrook did that shit too. I still been OKC. You know what I mean? With that young talent, now you got Gideon all them. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you forcing your way out doing the same thing James Harden and all these other motherfuckers doing. So if you can't beat them, join them. That's how I'm looking at it. Now you're gonna have everybody doing that. When I shot that little alley oop to Trick and John Morant on my video, I said the future looking bright. Bad Style came on there. He said something that was eye opening. He said, yeah, until the niggas started can't win and go to switching up and join the teams again. But I just hope that don't happen. But how can we say it's not gonna happen when they saying that's what the veterans doing that they look up to? It's different, man. It's just different.
Hey,
That's why I
real.
don't respect it, dog. I call like I said, I call our shit a draw to me. Moses Malone, when they had their shine, they put that team together, they got them one. I hear Elder talk about that all the time. We put that team together to win. We got us one that's good. You know what I mean? They don't want to be there. Let's get rid of them bookers. That's what you got to do. Just like y'all say, the owners ain't loyal. Players ain't loyal these days neither because you done gave them too much control and power. Back then, They probably had control and power, but not to this extent.
Yeah, man, I agree. I mean, shoot, like players being players while general managers being general managers. Like no one is trying to like like their position at the same damn time in a competitive spirit. Spirit is crazy.
What about you, Grondo?
Uh, it's gonna be a little funny answer because, well, first of all, can y'all hear me clearly?
Yeah, we hear you, man.
All right. So, anyway, I'm 21 years of age. I've only been able to see 2 decades of basketball in my lifetime, but even then, I would have to say that I think, even though I didn't live through this era, I would have to say that it must have been great seeing the '90s because you got to see a player dominate the sport like none other ever can or ever will, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You got to see the greatness of MJ pretty much take over an entire decade of basketball. And I'm not saying that he just carried his way through every championship and whatnot, but just going back looking at tape, going back looking at films, interviews, documentaries and shit. It must have been a blessing to see that type of dominance take place in the sport because I mean you're not gonna see it again in the NBA really from another player. I mean, shit. I mean, a lot of guys have tried and shit, but nothing wrong with any decade that I've seen. 2000s, 2010. They don't have their problems, or they don't have many problems, I should say. They're flawed and whatnot, but it's all still great basketball to watch. Even in today's age with all the bullshit fouls that you see for guys like James Harden and shit, but it's still great basketball to watch. Still hella entertaining. Even though the All Star dunk and shit fell off mightily, it's still entertaining to watch. Even when niggas out there, blowing open dunks and whatnot. And then of course, uh, you can also take into consideration the analysts. The media. Um, I mean, it's a double edged sword, really, because you can like or hate the media, but either way, interacting with the media, and especially like with platforms like this, you get to talk about basketball like in a way that you probably couldn't do so back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And even though it can be hella annoying sometimes interacting with fanboys, fangirls, and shit, there's also platforms like this where everybody is calm and everybody's chill, and we just here to talk basketball and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, every era comes with its pros and its cons, but even though I didn't live through the '90s, I would have to say that the '90s will probably have been the best because, like I said, you got to see dominance like none other.
All right, y'all. I'm back. What's up, Barack Longmire, Kyle 12, Grindo 24. Appreciate y'all for being up here. My
What it
brother
do?
James,
What it do, LB?
chilling, man, chilling,
Yeah.
man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got good takes. And I'm not discounting no brand of basketball and shit like that. I'm just trying to get an idea of what we think has the best brand of basketball throughout the decade and all that. Um,
So
like I said, for me, I'm biased towards the '80s. I love '80s basketball. All right, that's growing up in that competitive nature, man. Everybody was trying to see who's the best. You had, the Lakers and Celtics. They always trying to go. The Magic, Larry Bird rivalry was well documented ever since they played at for the national championship at Michigan State and Indiana State, right?
Facts.
And then you had the '84 draft, which is arguably now some people might put the '96 draft as one of the best draft classes ever, but that '84 draft, man, the legends that came out of that draft, man. But still, but the '80s basketball, man, you had, I mean, all them teams were trying to take each other's head off. But at the end, multiple times you seen it was Boston on one side and you had LA on the other side. And then Detroit Pistons was that up and coming team, the Bad Boy Pistons, right? Then you had Houston was in it one year. Philadelphia was in it one year. Chicago was trying to be that up and coming team also, but for a while it was Detroit trying to dethrone got dang on Boston, and then it was Chicago trying to dethrone Detroit. You had that dynamic of basketball going on. It was just so exciting, man. And then you had 7-7 guys like Manute Bol shooting threes. No one that I ain't never know motherfucker like him can shoot three, right? He played for Golden State back in the day. So with all that, man, I mean, don't get me wrong. The '90s basketball was great with all those guys. Phoenix, the Bulls. Obviously, the Bulls dominated the '90s. Um, Utah was in it a couple years. Houston won it a couple times. So, man, yeah, I mean, shit. Man, I just love basketball in general now. Now, as far as like this era go, I ain't look. Even though this got his good share, it has his good share of moments, but I ain't the biggest fan of this era. I'm just gonna be honest with you. All the whole super team dynamic and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that shit, bro. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
That's what I was saying, LB, when you was gone, man. Salute to you, man. Thanks for having me on your panel. And
Hey
salute to
James,
the
you
chat.
always welcome on the panel, bro.
See, everybody listen to this. I did was telling them the same thing you just said. But this why I call it like even sweet like draw for me from the '90s to 2000s because when they had the big battle from what I understood, like I said, when I started watching like around 83, 84, and I was old enough to understand the game of basketball, when I started picking up a basketball, going outside, trying to shoot on the go, I know I can't even touch the motherfucking net zone. So they used to pick me up in the air to throw it up. I'm hitting myself in the face with it. I remember this shit like yesterday. But make a long story short, the '80s learned from taught to pass it on to the '90s. The '90s took that shit from the '80s, built it in the '90s, kept that same tradition going, hard nosed physical style play. He took that shit from 2000. Kobe and them came in the '96 draft, sucked that shit up. Shaq. Now it started with Shaq and them and Webb and them in '94. I mean '92. So they took that. Shaq came in '92. Weber came in '94. They took that, passed that tradition on. They was willing to learn. They was willing to soak up all the knowledge that they can, and it just kept going. For some reason, the train had slipped off the track. You understand? And that's when all the integrity went out. It's positionless basketball. Everybody's a point guard. No, everybody not. Everybody can shoot threes. No, everybody can't. And that's where that we lost grasp of the fundamental part of the game of teaching these kids what to look for. That's not it. But they think you hating on their favorite player because that's all they blasting on these TVs. Is the niggas that they want to push. But if you watch the games and you go off the eye test, the dude Darius Garland, that dude can ball, bruh. Luke Kennard, you saw what he did in the 3-point contest. That the dude can ball. But I'm saying they don't get the shine, they don't get the praise, they don't get the minutes. They be stuck in their growth for some reason. And I don't know why, bruh. I don't know why, but I don't have the answer to that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah. Mm, like I said, no, like I said to me, it was to 2000s. Like I said, 2000s for me, because I came from that era, and um, and I liked it how no, it was more physical, but it had swag with it, like the hip hop thing, but also the rivalry, not just teams, when Indiana, had rivalry, with the Indiana, and Detroit. And also it dealt with players, had like Kobe had a rivalry with T Mac and AI. Like Shaq had a rivalry with Yao Ming, KG had a rivalry with KG, and Dirt had a rivalry with Tim Duncan. They rivalry in the same conference. Um and
But Shaq been going against powerful centers all in the
yeah,
'90s.
I was saying like Ben Wallace, Ben Wallace, Yao Ming, the list, let's go on with that. And and all the players evolving as well, like Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, them guys, started evolving. And also the players from the '90s also grew involved to when the 2000s came. They kept the traditional by going in the 2000s, like to Jason Kidd, Gary Payton, um Chris Webber, Chris Webber, them guys evolved more because they came from the '90s and they started keeping tradition in the 2000s and play well, and definitely play very well with it. So I said to me it was 2000s.
Hey, what's up, too, Ron? Long time no see, buddy.
Hiya, gang.
What's up, two? What's up, two, two?
Hi, y'all. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been over here.
You can't go
What
wrong
y'all
with the
talking
I
A's
about?
missed
neither.
you.
Even though Boston and the Lakers dominated the A's, they still had competition across the board.
Yeah, they
The
did.
Dallas
Right.
Mavericks was a nice team. The Milwaukee Bucks was a nice team. You still had other teams that was, that could put it on your ass.
Yeah. Um. Shit. If if um if Dennis Johnson had stayed with the Sonics and Gus
Oh, that would have
Williams
been
didn't
scary
get
too.
right, if Dennis Johnson had stayed with the Sonics and Gus Williams didn't start having issues with the management of the Sonics, that could have been a team. They already won a title in '79, and they went to back-to-back finals. They could have been more competition for the Lakers.
Yeah,
Um,
facts.
right, like you said, Milwaukee Bucks, Atlanta, they was making a little noise for a while. In the late '80s, you had the Cleveland Cavaliers. That team.
Hey, Ron,
Um,
wasn't Jack Sycamore in that Milwaukee Bucks team?
he was on there later on. Originally, he was with the Sonics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but to me, man, I think it goes down to personal preference as far as what do you think is the greatest decade of basketball. But I think most people would probably say at least a plurality would say the '80s and '90s. If I had to go with one decade, it's the '80s because the NBA was really struggling in the 1970s. It was really struggling to the point where games was on tape delay on television. The NBA was struggling to get like contracts with the major networks, and the only reason why the league was even kind of surviving was because of Dr. J after the ABA NBA merger. And then Magic and Larry came, and then it wasn't just Magic and Larry, but that did catapult the league. But then you start seeing a whole bunch of new rising stars. So like a whole bunch of great players just came to the NBA at the right time. Magic, Larry, Bernard King, George Gervin came over from the NBA, Adrian Dantley, Alex English, a whole bunch of great players. And then you start seeing, all these great NBA players coming to the NBA. Tom Chambers, Dominique Wilkins, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, John Stockton, Karl Malone, Isaiah Thomas. What I'm saying? Like the star power was so great in the 1980s. And that just catapulted the league from being like, just surviving to being successful to thriving to being a global sensation. And then Michael Jordan, like most people say, carried it to the 1990s and took it to a higher level. And the '90s was terrific, but then to me, you can't argue it started getting a little watered down in the late '90s with the expansion with the Toronto Raptors, the Grizzlies. The talent kind of started falling a little bit, and then it came back in the 2000s. That was a very competitive decade. But now, bro, I'm not knocking the NBA, but I was hearing LB at the end. The way that they play the game to be just kind of
turns me off, man. Like, everybody pretty much do the same thing. You know, everybody, what I'm saying? Like, most players kind of like gravitate for a 3-point shot. Um, it's not as individualized as far as people's games, and I don't know. It's just kind of boring to me now.
Yep. I'm right
Listen,
there
if
with
you
you too,
want to
Rob.
put
I mean, no, go ahead, James.
no, you go ahead, LB. Go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is like, I'm so used to, because we talked about this behind the scenes too, Rob, where you had a point guard or whoever the primary ball handler call a play, and everybody knew what spots to be in, everybody knew they set, everybody knew their role and all that, right? And they did it well, right? Now it's just
Hmm.
like it's so. I think the game today is more individualized than it is back in the 80s. Even though you had star players in the 80s and stuff like that in the 90s, but there was still a team concept to it.
Hmm.
Now, I don't
Yeah.
see that team concept nowadays. I mean, that's just me. But what's up, James? What you was about to say?
Because they say it's positionless basketball. They need to get back to the point guard, power forward, centers. It's cool to play outside in, but fundamentals never left the game, dog. So I don't care how athletic your person is, that should be an advantage for him if you put him in the right position to succeed, closer to the basket, because he had that footwork, because he had that height like a Kevin Durant. These dudes is playing out of position. They don't have no point guards, and they centers do not control the glass like they need to. And then they get mad at AD because he only averaging 1 rebound, 3 rebounds, 7 rebounds. When y'all got the man shooting jumpers already, and you got it in his head, that's all you do. You good. I'm good with that. No, man, put his ass on the block. Make him play down there. You the coach, right? Stop letting them dictate how the team is ran, and you coach the motherfuckers. If a nigga don't want build into your philosophy, that's cool. Patrick Ewing, I don't give a fuck if he could go out there. This is a 15-footer, right? Enough night for me. The rest of the time, back to the basket. I'm down there getting me about 9, 10 boards. You understand? You can't get that out these dudes. Joel and B won't shoot threes from the top of the key out there. How the fuck you gonna get a rebound? I just don't understand it, dog. Like, you cannot fix this. Like I say, that's why I really call it a draw. Now, people got like this, they got their own preferences. But I reason why I call it a draw for because the 80s took something like T-Wall said because it was dead, and they made it special again. So they was willing to pass it down to all the people who was willing to take their knowledge and learn. John told you that. That's why he don't compare himself to being the GOAT because there's so many greats that came before him did it their own way. It's hard to really say who to go. So what you gonna go? Oh, he's 6-0. That's understandable because that's what really counts. The man did it and never lost by being the alpha of the team, not no role player, not no nigga who stacked the deck to do it. You know what I mean? So I don't have no problem with that.
Do y'all think? I just thought about this. Do y'all think the Euro style of basketball ruined the whole concept of how the games are played now? Because and one person I want to bring in particular is Dan Tony, because Dan Tony, he brought that Euro style of basketball, 7 seconds or less, and all that. And remember, back in the day, back in like the early 2000s, 96 possessions was like really fast. Nowadays, 96 possessions is really slow, right? So, what y'all think?
A case could be made. A case can be made that you could say that it kind of messed with the game. Um, you've seen a massive influx of European players in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the players that we call white now aren't American whites. They're from Europe, and the game is globalized. And they've had a lot of influence on how the game is played. Plus, when you look at the changes that the league has made, it's kind of influenced that type of style anyway. And they always popularize like Mike D'Antoni, like he's this all-time great coach. And the reality, the results
Which
aren't
is
really
not.
there. Right, he's not.
Right.
But they always popularize him like he's an all-time great coach. And yeah, you can say that because that style, while it can be entertaining, it's not conducive, at least in the NBA, it's not really conducive to winning. And me personally, look, I don't mind every now and then seeing, like when I was growing up watching basketball, I didn't mind seeing every now and then a high scoring game. Everybody like to see every now and then, at least me. I didn't mind seeing a 135, 130 game. But when you start getting into 166, 163, 170, 158, okay, now it's starting to get ridiculous. Okay, I'm a type of person. Yeah,
I know, right?
yeah, that's getting ridiculous. I'm a type of person. I appreciate defense. I've always appreciated defense more than offense. That's why I'm in the minority, but my absolute favorite era of basketball was the late '90s, early 2000s. When the pace started slowing down, some of the best teams in the NBA were older. Remember that? The Bulls, the Jazz, uh, the Rockets. You know, they were the best teams in the NBA. The NBA is a copycat league.
Yeah.
It, yeah, back then it was more of a interest in having guys on your roster that could play defense. Saying that maybe they didn't shoot very well. These guys were great one-on-one defenders. They were great in getting in the passing lane. Great like as far as stripping the ball and whatnot. You had a lot of guys like that on teams. But anyway, I love that low-scoring defensive era NBA. But I understand a lot of people casual. They like to see scoring. So the NBA, they changed the fucking rules. They made it easier to score. So I mean, it is what it is, man. But yeah, um, I guess you could say in a nutshell, man, that the Euro style has kind of ruined the NBA a little bit. Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know what I'm gonna say, LB. Hell yeah, it did. Have they ever won with that shit? I'm talking about him.
No.
He brought it in. Has he won? Other niggas
No.
done did it and perfected it, and he ain't never won with it. That's what I don't understand. You other nigga that you had doing it. James Harden bitch ass. Steve Nash bitch ass. But Steve Nash got a coaching job though. Remember that. Niggas
Yep.
just lost 11 in a row at one point. Come on, man. Like, all this my buddy, chuck it friend to the end type shit, man. Get some niggas in here that supposed to coach these dudes and get the job done. Cause I want to get back to regular basketball, man. I'm tired of watching reality show all day. This shit ain't nothing. Sports
And
turned
then
to
on top of
reality
that,
show, dog.
right. Well, I think that too. I think what also too is like, I want to know if the scouting department is because they're the one out here going out here drafting these players. We got talented people here in the States that can play the game of basketball, but for whatever reason, whether it be politics, whether it be, for whatever reason, they don't get the same shine as this glistening European player that happened to be a two-time Euro player of the year, right? So like when you bring in like a Luka Doncic, right? Well, he can play. Don't get me wrong. Luka was a beast. But we're bringing in some. We got to go overseas to bring in somebody. When we got talent here that can play the ball, play the game of basketball on a high level just as well, if not better. But for some
You
reason, he's
know,
not getting the same looks.
you know what I think could possibly be influencing that, LB.
What's that?
When you look at the percentage of the NBA audience, the fan base, uh, I think I looked at it recently. 45% of the fan base is black. Much of the rest of the fan base comes from overseas, Europe, Asia, and very little of the NBA fan base is American white. So it makes sense that they are catering to people that type of play because that's a lot of their audience now. You know, so not to try to bring in politics, but I'm just saying a lot of their audience is China, Europe, you know, Eurasia. So that does make sense that they keep trying to cater to those to that type of style because a lot of the NBA global audience is from over there.
That makes sense
Yeah.
too, right? I understand that. So they're branching out, and now they paying more attention to other people than their own people. That's all it is. Cause they feel like our
Yeah,
people ain't got no money. We broke. They need us to make the money, and then they gonna sell out to get the bag and to keep it coming in anyway. So if other countries come over here and send $1 back home and turn that bitch into $20, shit, why not? I sneak my way over this bitch too. Lock me up when you catch me. I done already sent the mail home, bitch. I'm straight when I get out. Them motherfuckers, I just man, they got food trucks, all kind of shit out here, man. Back then the day, you can't get us to get none of that shit. I'm with LB. Oh, we got too much talent over here, you know. They even why they shut the ABA down? Because it was a threat to them. I don't know. They saw more talent over there. Oh, look at them niggers. Let's get them. How much they get? How much they paying them? They already run the world, so whatever they give you, shit, you gonna go over there and shit. They paying up, man. You ain't getting paid nothing over here. But shit, they don't
I
give us
tell you
what
one thing.
hundred
I
thousand
tell you
dollars to
one
pay
thing.
for a full season. Shit, I'm going to play with the.
Mhm.
I'm going to play with the honkies, the crackers.
I tell you one thing the ABA did though. It made the NBA step their game up because the
Thank
NBA
you.
was real conservative. You know, the play was conservative. You know what I mean by I keep saying conservative, old
Yeah,
fashioned.
it was that old
And
fashioned, the
yeah,
antique
the
furniture.
ABA was right. The ABA was above the rim. It was more athletic, and the NBA had
Ruck
to
a
loosen a
ball.
lot of their rules. That's why I be telling these younger cats. You know, they were like, well, you guys can't drill back then. Yeah, in the NBA in the '60s, it was conservative. You couldn't do certain shit with the basketball. They called palming. You know, they would call this different violations. But in the '70s, to compete, they had to loosen a lot of shit up. They had to let people be able to have more independent freedom doing, you know, be more creative with the basketball and compete with the
Yeah,
ABA.
motherfucker
And
couldn't
then, you
dunk.
know, yeah,
Yeah, I heard that too. LB,
Hey,
how you gonna talk about you can't dunk, man? You crazy?
yeah, dude, I was like, you had to throw the ball. You had to throw the ball in the rim. You couldn't like, you couldn't go out there, and, you know, put a two-hand tomahawk jam on the motherfucker.
But
You
that's
couldn't
crazy,
dunk.
dog.
You know what I'm saying?
like in practice in
I
the
remember,
'60s,
hey,
guys were doing tomahawk dunks and stuff like that, but you couldn't do that shit during the game. Because if you did that during the game in the 1960s, the next possession, if you try to drive down there, a motherfucker go, a motherfucker gonna fucking chop you in your motherfucking throat. If you try to go in or undercut you and try to injure you, because it was seen as like you trying to show a motherfucker up.
Like that?
Yep, it was
Too
a
raw. You
different
better
culture
tell
back
him it was
then.
competition. Now, boy, nigga, don't come up in here talking about trying to show me out. Dunk on me or nothing. Everything is highly
Back then,
contested. I'm talking about
back
they
then,
deny
like look,
credit, nigga. They
right.
trying to hold you back.
Back then it was like you a guard, you stay out there. You know, you come in and trying to do all these dunks. You know what I'm saying? Okay, try it again. The next time you do that shit in the game, they're gonna fuck you up. That's how the game was back then.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's basically like the '60s is kind of like what the Bad Boys Detroit did on steroids, though.
It was more league. It was more widespread back then. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't have every game broadcast back then, but you know you had enforcers. You might not have had the most skilled guys, but you had some fucking rough, rugged ass, fucking half maniac motherfuckers on teams. Man, their main job was to be goons and shit. You know, and you know. You could get away with a lot of shit back then. Back then, you could double hand check too in 1960. Yep, you could double hand check. You know what I'm saying? You could just get away with a lot
And
more physical shit back
when
then.
was the shot clock first introduced?
Shot clock 54-55 season.
Into 54, 55. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I remember those games where it'd be like the final score would be like 2-0 and all that. It was like crazy. Like you had people
Yeah,
playing keep away.
yeah, it was just playing keep away. Yeah, you could just play keep away and shit. Like when the Minneapolis Lakers was winning titles, the average score was like 58 points or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, 58 points in the end. I mean, shit. If you see
Yo, be
58 points in
your mic, man.
yeah, because the weather's really bad right now. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
like,
okay. No problem.
but uh, but yeah, man, dude, yeah, man, if I see 58 points in the NBA game, if that's the final score, like 58, 56, man, somebody had an off night. A windy
It
off
sound
night.
like it does have an off night.
Especially considering that there was a game, matter of fact, too, Raw, you remember this game a couple years ago? Where so it was the same night where the Nationals played the Houston Astros, right? And then you had the Wizards being home to the Houston Rockets. The final score was 151-149.
I think I remember that game.
It was the ninth highest scoring game in NBA history.
I think I remember that game. I remember a game too a couple years ago. It was that year when it was all those 50-point games in the NBA. It was like 23
Yeah.
50-point games. And the final score, I think the Bulls lost. I think we lost to Atlanta. I think we lost to. I think it was 166, 163. And I think Trae Young had 49 points in that game. Next highest person had like 30 something. Next highest person had 20 something on the team. I mean, just no defense being played at all, man.
Yeah, that's why I said like the 2000, like anything that's around like the 2010s to now, you know what I mean, the game is worn down. There's no balance when it comes to both sides of the playing field.
Yo,
It's
Sean,
only one side.
you being very disgusting, bro. You being very disgusting, Sean.
I'm not being disgusting, bro. I'm not.
What's good, too, Raw?
Hey, what's up, man?
I was telling you boys earlier that the 2010s is the best brands of basketball. You know what I'm saying? As in the aspect of offensively and defensively as well. We had great creators like the fact that people is annoying the fact that you have Kawhi Leonard, Tony Allen, um, great win like levels of Scottie Pippen defensively. Tony Allen is on that same level defensively as a Scottie Pippen, as in guarding a player, like legit.
Insanity.
Yo, are you serious? Are you gonna sit? I'm not. Kid, please take away everything else besides defense on the player of Scottie Pippen and compare that strictly just to Tony Allen playing defense on the player as well.
Tony
It's
Allen
then
is
that.
not in the same stratosphere
Yo,
as a Scottie Pippen when it comes to defense, man.
whoa! All right, yeah, all right.
He doesn't have a
Now we
defensive player
playing
of the year.
favorites.
He doesn't
Now we
even have
playing
like
favorites.
he
That's
doesn't have a
accolades,
first team
bro.
defense.
That's accolades from other people. What are you talking about, bro? I'm talking about stuff that you gotta call out on film. Like you bringing the accolades from people who voted on that. It's not even like legitly. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that, bro. That's weird. Like you using that as a
All right.
you using that like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not even using that. You know what I'm saying? As a like I don't use the MVP all the time because you know that's based off a pedicure of what they want that season, bro. Come on, man. Come on, bro.
All right. Let's
I'm
play
just
in
saying,
your
like,
way.
look at all the great defensive players. Like you hear LeBron James, you hear Kevin Durant, you hear
LeBron James not a
like
good
and
defensive player.
No. I'm not talking about defensive. I'm talking about being played defensively by a guy like a Tony Allen. Like these dudes call him a problem. Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? You're darling of the 2000s. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Sean. Come on, bro. Don't do that. Memphis had like one of the best defensive teams in like the last 30 years. If you look at a stat line, like that 2014 team is amazing. Like, come on, bro. Memphis 2014. Like, come on, guys. They took OKC to 7 in 2011. Like, bro, the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy, bro. Like, bye, guys. Stay
So
safe.
hold on. So you say 2010 is the best brand of basketball for in the decade, right? What are you saying?
Yeah, he actually said 2010s is the best decade of basketball.
Yes, because we had our highs and the lows, and we had so much history involved. It's just the rich soilness, like the rich soil of what we needed in basketball. The mecca, not talking about New York, the mecca of basketball really was felt in 2010.
Hey, you know, hey, Teron, you remember that character in Living Color?
What
Hey, you
character?
remember that character in Living Color? You remember that? He was played by Damon Wayans, right? And then he was always that jail conspiracy thing. He was always spotting off them big ass words and all that.
Yeah, I know you're
So
talking
about
about.
I pontificate, but I defecate on the situation. That dude. What was his name?
Oh man, I can't remember, man. I don't, you
Oh,
know what? I don't
what
even
the
know if
hell was
they
his
actually gave him
name?
a. I don't even know if they actually gave him a name.
In living color. Man, I forgot that shit.
Allow me to lubricate. I mean, ejaculate into the equation. Yeah, I know you're talking about that dude.
What it,
That was what sound like.
wow, that them is some shocks. Like I was expecting that. Let me check if I'm injured. I'm okay. I'm not injured, but them was some shocks, bro. Wow. I'm shocked at
Yeah,
first,
wow,
but I
cause that take you spotted off earlier was some very outlandish takes you spotted off earlier. Cause I wanted to ask you, cause you said something about, cause there was some questions I asked you before this internet, for this signal out here cut off and you know degrade my during the quality of my goddamn money I pay every month, right?
mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to ask you a series of questions, right, about the app. Because
Okay.
so all them guys that you said, right, they had to get their games from somewhere, right?
True
Do
that.
you think Giannis? Don't you think Giannis took a piece of his game from Kobe Bryant? Because you say he did.
Maybe, but game no, definitely
Maybe.
not. Definitely not. Game, but I can see from mindset, like the idea of how to see the game. I see that, but the game itself, like the jab steps, the moves, the footwork, no, hell no, hell no, hell
What?
no, hell no.
Okay, so where do you think Giannis get that footwork from, man? You don't think he worked with Hakeem Olajuwon on his footwork?
But we ain't say Akeem. We ain't say Akeem Olajuwon. We said Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
but
oh,
you say he took parts of his game from other people. So I'm trying to I'm trying to dissect this thing.
yeah, like I said, like the way he like if you look at Giannis, because I don't know why we particularly shooting out Giannis because he is part of that 2010 that was needed. It's not like when I was speaking on like Trey Young, that's a perfect example of a Steph Curry emanated in his game set. Another one for you, Kristaps Porzingis. The approach of how they try to use them and emulate it on a Dirk Nowitzki, who was a huge factor in the 2010s. You know what I'm saying? From a narrative standard as well as a significant standard, as in like being. I think I think it's legitly probably at the Kobe. If y'all really look at Kobe overseas, the European player, the most points by Dirk as a European player, like it's huge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Kristaps Porzingis nowhere on the level of Dirk Nowitzki. He's not
No,
even a knockoff
but
version
I'm
of Dirk
saying
Nowitzki.
his value is still worth it. Up to just like what 2 weeks ago, he was like an intricate part of Dallas, and before that, he was like the face of New York. Come on, and he didn't even
Uh, he,
play.
he
He
was
ain't play
he was
games.
not the face of the New York Knicks. He was not. He was not. I get some New York Knicks fans in here right now that'll tell you Kristaps Porzingis was not the face of the New York Knicks. He was not. If you look at the list of New York Knicks greats, Kristaps Porzingis, they will not be on that list. And does anyone disagree with me or what? Does anybody disagree with me?
No,
I
I
mean,
think
yeah,
Someone
Chris.
let me know.
Chris has never been like the face of like the New York Knicks. He had like good moments, but he never was the face. But
That's what I'm saying.
like this guy, man, like 2010s. I'm like, all right, man, shoot. I
I mean,
mean,
me
yeah, man,
personally,
I'm
this,
open
this,
minded when it comes to the opinions, but
He can't be
man,
goofy
that's
shit.
crazy.
me personally, I mean, I
No, were you
like
about to
the.
say Terrell?
No, no, I was gonna say, me personally, I like the first half of the 2000 teams better than the second half. 2010, 2014, 15. Um, after that, that's when you start seeing. And I'm not picking on Steph Curry because he's a great, phenomenal player, but he was such a phenomenon, and the Warriors were such an influential team that I think that plus analytics sped up this process that we got now, where you know, like you said, team concept and running plays and team, the way we normally saw teams play basketball, rapidly shifted to what it is today. And like I said, it works for Golden State because they got two uniquely great players who are great shooting the basketball, but they never gave up that team concept and playing defense and that philosophy. But you got all these other copycat teams that think it's just all about shooting threes when there's more than that. That's why I like the first half of 2000 teams more so than the second half. That's just me.
I agree. Like the first half was good because like it still has that element to what like the 2000s had. Not as much, like it's still kind of watered down, but it actually still has some of those elements. And then after like 2015, that's when it's gone overboard to the point where, every team is trying to make every player of all positions to at least to be decent on three, which is should not be the goal. Should be the answer and everything.
That's another thing I want to ask you too, because I want to bring up. If I'm not mistaken, Tony Allen was not. I'm trying to remember. Was Tony Allen a good 3-point shooter? Was he about average, right?
Tony Allen was average.
Average shooter. That the
He
reason
was
why I asked that.
average.
The reason why I asked that because I couldn't remember whether he was a good 3-point shooter. See, that would hurt him today. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the era would hurt him because there's not so much emphasis on defense. He's not a he's not a real you know prolific 3-point shooter. So I wonder if Tony Allen would flourish in today's NBA unless he added that 3-point shot.
I still think that he could still flourish. I'm not saying he's gonna be, better than what he was like, back then, but I think there's other ways in order for him to stand out
Right,
outside just 3-point shooting.
right, right, right.
But yeah, as far as like, I mean, that guy talk about Tony Allen having the same defensive capabilities as like a Scottie Pippen. I'm just like, that is just ridiculous. It's just insanity. I mean, Tony's good, but he's not that good. Like me
I thought a
personally.
better I thought a better one-on-one defender, in my opinion, was Bruce Bowen.
Bruce Boy. Oh,
Mm.
okay.
I mean, compared to Tony Allen.
Yeah, he is better. But like my point though is like there is no balance when it comes of like when we talking about like when he just saying about like the list like oh like he defended LeBron and he did this and do that. Like I hear you on that, but LeBron wasn't even like the best defender of the league even in his prime. Like
Yeah,
he never was. All he does is rely on athleticism. Like me. I think you know me. I'm on the comment section. You know what I mean? Like having this huge disdain with LeBron James and all that because again, partially because he's in my team. But the thing where I think that a lot of people kind of like overlook is that they don't look at the context of what it was around the time, and to know that if you actually watch his full games, he doesn't defend like that all the time. Majority of the time, he relies on of his athleticism and to knowing that if the opponent that he's facing against is either slow or small. That's about it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
yeah. The only
like
time you can go ahead.
oh okay, like majority of the time when I hear people saying like, oh, LeBron James defend like 1 to 5 positions. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you count like small centers, yeah, I kind of agree. But he doesn't defend it all the time. Maybe at times, like at best, like 1 or 2 games in a row. But majority of the time, he does not really do that. He doesn't even defend the best player in the league. But I mean, if I said that, people think I'm going to be hated. But it's far from the case.
Right, right. Hey, LB, you there, LB?
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I
Oh,
can hear
never mind.
you.
We
Sorry
can
about
hear
that.
you
Hold on.
loud and clear.
Yeah. And I was
I
gonna tell
can't
you,
hear
man.
y'all. I'm
Probably.
about to go off for a little bit. I'll be right back.
Oh,
No
damn.
problem.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna get ready to drop off, but I'll stay on for a little bit. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think there's some great defenders out there, man, historically, but I think there's certain ones that just stand out a little bit more than others. Um, I don't know, but what did you say you thought the greatest era was? I think you said the 2000s, right?
I'll say, in my opinion, like the greatest. I mean, if I was saying like historically, I think the '80s is like the most influential.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like as far as like in that type of case, but since I'm just going through like, hey, what era I grew up at, it is going to be the 2000s
Okay.
because like to me that's kind of like the last of the bohemians when it comes to, like basketball and also how balanced the game is. Like you can see like there's balance. What I mean? Now for maybe for older, I mean for older cats, they might see like, the 2000s is kind of like watered down a little bit compared to like 90s or 80s. But like it's still the balance is still there. That's why I actually, say about the
Mhm.
2000s. And
Right.
plus because of the zone defense too. I'll say
Right.
that. That's why.
Right. 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 I mean, I tend to say the best era overall is I say the '80s through the 2000s. You know, just I mean, like I said, I grew up watching the '90s, and I can agree with the feeling, even though that's the era I watched, that the second half of the '90s was more watered down. Like after '95, '96, some of the great players from the '80s were retiring. You started seeing a lot more first picks that were failing, that were like bust. You saw two new teams join, the Raptors and the Grizzlies, which led to dispersal drafts, which sort of weakened the league for a little bit. Um, and it was a couple of years you could say the league was a little bit watered down, but then like in the late '90s, it started getting better again. A new generation of players, and the 2000s was great, man. Like, the 2000s was, it, I'm just keeping it real, man. Like just the quality of basketball, man. Like it's just better, like you say, balance. Like you had great perimeter scoring, but you still had like great centers and great power forwards playing in their traditional role. You know, yeah. So it was a lot more competition. I think it was like right now the league is competitive, but I think this is the first time it's been like this in at least over a decade, where the league seems to be more competitive. But yeah, that's just how I feel and whatnot.
Yeah, I feel you. The Eastern Conference is stronger than what it was like right now. It's stronger than the one that we seen over in the 2000s, in my personal opinion.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You know what I mean?
Um, yeah, most definitely. Like after the Bulls dynasty broke up, um, like trying to think after the Bulls dynasty broke up, you had like the Pacers and the Knicks for a little bit, but they weren't championship teams. I mean, well, Pacers a little bit, but not really. Then you had that Nets team that was okay, but they weren't going to beat anybody in the Western Conference. You know, then you had what, Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker. Yeah, the East was weak for a while, man. The East was weak for a while. You really only had two teams that could compete in that decade, in my opinion, for a title, and that was that Pistons team and the Celtics. Other than that, the East was pretty weak, man. You know, that's why, in my opinion, even though you gotta give LeBron James credit for going to that finals when he was 22 years old, I think people do have to remember that the Eastern Conference was kind of weak then, man. Like, you know, like it, it was kind of weak. That was just before that Boston team was put together. The Pistons was getting close to the end of their run. They didn't have Ben Wallace anymore. Um, that next team was toward the end of their run. That Pacers team was dismantled after the Malice at the Palace. So I'm not knocking his run. I mean, it's great what he did. It was a great accomplishment, but I think some people kind of overestimate like how difficult that path was sometimes.
They always been overestimating that path. I mean, like at times when I be hearing like, oh, LeBron James, I mean, he dominated the Eastern Conference. I'm like, in a way, I say he didn't dominate. You know what I mean? He allowed a lot of people, a lot of teams gain championships and they flourish on that era. Even when it comes like in his side of the fence, like over in the Eastern Conference, Detroit Pistons and the Miami Heat won a championship before him.
Yeah, and
And even when it
mhm.
comes to the super team, Dirk won against them. Um, Even when he actually has like when he came back to Cleveland, the Warriors won against him. Like for
Oh,
me,
that hey,
like
hey,
that.
Hey Sean, you forgot about the Boston Celtics. They won against him. They won before he won one too.
Oh yeah, even the Boston Celtics. I had, I mean, I'm a Laker fan. I always forget about the Boston Celtics, but yeah, like they even won against before him. So why be like looking at dominance? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Jordan always been mentioned majority of the time of the '90s, but he dominated the era. He dominated that decade.
And remember, his team got upsetted by the White Howard and the Magic.
That was the best. That was the best year for LeBron James to even go to that finals against Kobe.
Yeah,
That 2009, that was like the best chance in order for him to get in there. I feel like that he actually chickened out.
yeah, yeah. I don't.
Yeah,
That that
man. I
team.
told you, I feel like he chickened out because ain't no way. Because like I even watched some of those games of the series. Like LeBron was leading all the way into the fourth quarter, and also even though he did not finish it, they actually did won enough in order to win those games. So I don't. It doesn't really make sense to me. Like if I see a team that's winning that much in the stretch, why on earth did you actually lose that gripe of that win share? Like
Yeah,
Orlando Magic doesn't really have nothing really except for Dwight Howard and maybe some decent defense.
right, right.
I
And
mean, like again, like stuff like this is why I always criticize LeBron, man. It's like it just like doesn't really matter. All those numbers don't mean nothing.
yeah.
Like me personally, I
No,
get
no,
like the
no.
numbers
I
does,
agree. I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
like I get it from the historical context, like that he actually, what he did was absolutely incredible. But in my opinion, like if you look as far as context, it is not as impressive as what people think it looks like. It doesn't look as impressive what it seems. And also I watched, LeBron, from like those early years, which in my opinion was kind of like the best version of Bron to me. But yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
it's not as impressive as like what people thinks it could be. Like that's why I always be like I always nod my head when it comes to the NBA media and its fans just be docile, and also especially these fake statistician fans, man, talk about all this jibber jabber about numbers and stuff. When what I mean, if you actually watch the full games, those numbers does not really showcase reality. All it does is just make him look good. But
Yeah.
but again, that's just me though. Like you know,
No, you don't get no argument out of me, man. Like I think the best version of LeBron was the original Cleveland run. You could argue Miami Heat too overall, but um, it's yes, he can score a lot of points. He scores a lot of points, man. But like I be telling people, it's not the, the points that he's scoring. They're not impacting. They're oftentimes they're not impacting the game. They have no impact. And LeBron in his prime, he was able to carry teams. He was able to carry teams that were not really. I could argue. You could argue sometimes the teams was not the most talented, but he could carry a team on his shoulder at times and carry them deep into playoffs. As far as runs, you can't do that anymore. And
I
and
mean, yeah, he can't do that anymore because he's still using that same old system.
yeah,
Like, like when I hear like how good his IQ is, I get it.
hmm
Me for a player to actually carry or actually able to get a team up to 10 times is really impressive. However, when you actually look it through again, I always use context. This guy has been incredibly predictable when it comes to the finals. And everyone don't want to mention about this. You know what I mean? Like for me, if LeBron James would have actually did more work in his game, he would have won more championships. I would not criticize him like the way I criticize him right now. He would if he would have changed like plans. If he would have not needed like the asterisks of oh like Kyrie or even a Ray Allen saving him or saving the game from how the series is gonna go down from where it was. I mean, he would have won more championships, and I would have actually praised him more. But I don't really praise him as much because of stuff like this. Like to me, I think his IQ is overrated. Like I get it, but
Mhm.
I just think it's overrated. Regular seasons, yeah, he is. It looks good. You know what I mean? He able to score like about 35 points a game and while helping the team out, gain triple doubles and all that. But when it comes to playoffs and finals, that's where the predictability comes in.
Yeah.
And teams know this. So
Yep. I don't disagree with you at all, man. So you know, I thought that as he got older, he would realize that he would have to adhere to the motto, the saying less is more. I'm a diminishing player. I need more help. Therefore, I need other guys to have a larger role. But he still is trying to. If anything, he's trying to prove some point that he's still a dominant offensive player, and it's having a negative impact on the team. But because he has the lightning rod in Russell Westbrook, and a lot of friends in media, so they pretty much using Russell Westbrook as the. I'm not saying he's not having a bad year, but they're using him as the lightning rod for everything that's wrong with the Lakers. But then when you look at everything, but when you look at Russell Westbrook's overall numbers, they're not far off of his career averages. And the real problem to me is that Russell Westbrook is just a horrible fucking fit for this team, and he's not what they need. Like what he provides, for the most part, is not what this team needs. So therefore, that's why he doesn't look very well on this team, you know. But the fact that you're always trying to make it like Russ is the problem, when in reality, it's the way this roster was constructed and the way that one particular player is playing rather selfishly is what hurting this team, in my opinion. But you know,
yeah, I agree
yeah,
with you on that. But
yeah,
but for me, like the biggest problem I have with this team is easily LeBron. More so when it comes like not able to give other players a chance, man. Like if player development was over there, I mean, again, Austin Reeves. I like Austin Reeves.
mm,
Hopefully they actually keep him. Not trading him for an all star or an old player that is known to be an all star or whatever. But if they do keep him, I think the Lakers it'll be all right.
let me ask you this: do you think the Lakers at this point should just blow this team up?
Absolutely. I do
Mm,
think they should blow this team up.
yeah,
There's no other way. Like if the Lakers continue using the same squad, while they actually able to like develop Austin Reeves and or any or younger young player that's coming into the Lakers, developing them skills and stuff, at best they're still going to be a playoff team that's going to be out of the first round, maybe second round, and LeBron, and unless of course LeBron James does not be selfish with the ball, and Anthony Davis is not acting soft, what I mean, there's no way in order for them to like get a good solid role when it comes of like of the season. Like me personally, I gave up the Lakers since I mean I already know that how things are per se because ever since when LeBron James came in, at best I was more angry at the fact that y'all gonna be ruining the future of what is coming towards the Lakers than just like just for the present because I know it's like it's a business thing, you know. Like, hey, we got LeBron James, and we here to make him look good while we make ourselves look good. So we need that championship now in order to solidify that type of like moment. But the sacrifice with that moment is we're gonna be in a 10-year drought
Mm-hmm.
because like like not to like again, like a Laker fan to me, I know I already been seeing drought before, like for yeah, like 10 years, like 7 or 8 years with no success with even when it comes to playoffs. But as far as as far as this is way more different. This is like some stuff that you just seen like with the Knicks or like with the Clippers. Like after this one player is gone, you have no chance in hell in order for you to go even to be successful to get a championship. I would even say I would not even think that even if we actually I would even say that we can't even get into the playoffs right now at this point. So I yeah, I do think that we should break like the team should be breaking up. You know what I mean? Chicago's doing good, so I mean shout out to Chicago. They got
Mm-hmm.
DeRozan, which we should have gone, but you know,
Yeah.
LeBron wants something else. He don't want someone to outscore him, so I mean, that's why. So
It's almost like LeBron's going to trade a scoring title for a losing season, possibly.
he will because
Yeah.
he has people that'll back him up no matter what. It's like basically no matter what he does, people's always going to be backing him up, regardless of if you say about that you said like, hey, LeBron James is making the team lose. All they're going to say is about look at his statistics and look at how the way that he was scoring when that's actually hurting the team. Like people are not really watching the game. They just like sitting here just watching highlights and the box scores and not even like looking at it. It's like I actually saw multiple games where LeBron James scored about 30, even like 25 points. The team losing nearly almost 20, 22 points. While with Austin Reeves score about 15 points, the team is now losing by 6 points. So I don't get it. I don't get how a rookie is more impactful than a guy that you guys always say that he's the GOAT. I just
Yeah.
don't. I just personally don't.
I
Like
remember that game. I remember that game against the Grizzlies. LeBron had like 34, and they were down by 29. And kept LeBron and put him the bench. And all of a sudden, like you said, Austin Reeves and those guys, they cut the lead to like, I think they cut the lead to 6. And the Grizzlies had to put their starters back in.
yeah,
Because they were actually
yeah,
playing
that
on both
game was
sides of the court.
crazy.
Yes, they were actually playing on both sides of the court. And they cut the lead to 6. But the headlines aren't going to say that. They're going to say you're going to see the final score, which is a lot closer than what the game really was, and you'll just see LeBron had 34 points, and you assume the game was kind of close. When in reality, LeBron was stat padded in a blowout. So yeah, I know what you're talking about, man. Hey, LB, I gotta
Mhm.
go, bro. You there,
No
LB?
problem.
Yeah, all right, too, bro. Hey, man, always good having you on, my brother, man. Good to see you, man. Hope you come on in the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to come on more frequently, man. And yeah, man, yeah, my bad, man. I was having some phone issues, man. But I'm gonna start being on your show more frequently, man.
Okay,
All
all
right,
good, bro. You know what I'm saying? You got the golden key to the city.
I got the golden key.
Yeah, got the
All
golden
right, bro.
key.
All right, bro.
All right, bro.
All right, then.
All right, man. Yeah, man. On that note, I'm gonna go and get up out of here too. I got some things I gotta address. But Sean, hey, good, always good having you on too, bro. You welcome back anytime.
No problem. Thanks for you allowing
If
me to be a
you
part of the
not
stream.
subscribe to this channel, oh man, all good, bro. All good. You know what I'm saying, you always provide good context, and what I'm looking for. I'm looking for context. Josh, like anytime.
Yeah.
Shout out to LBC.